the last time we learned, we were focused very much on Seudah Shlishit and its relevancy to one of the places where we learned some aspects about Seudah Shlishit, namely on page 27a. What I want to do tonight is to actually learn two more pieces in Tosafot, because I think they're both instructive toward understanding, in the first case, another piece about Seudah Shlishit. And since it comes around once a week, we should understand it a little bit better, perhaps. Number two, something conceptual about the position of Rabbi Eliezer and a machloket Rashi Tosafot. And you'll see a great example, if I'm successful in getting that far, of course, in seeing the way in which the interplay between Rashi and Tosafot plays itself out based on the language of the Gemara. It's one of those examples. So if you look with me in the Gemara in Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, just to remind you what we saw last we learned, we've been talking about the fact on page 27a that Rabbi Eliezer maintains a minimum of 14 meals, and then he relents and says, no, it's not 14 full meals, just means the first night, and then after that, there's still an idea from the tail end of the Mishnah that yet after Sukkot is over and it's Shmini Atzeret, you can make up that which you missed in terms of that meal. And how do you do it, given the reality that the night of Shmini Atzeret you're already eating a meal? Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer, Minei Targima. Im hishli b'minei Targima yatsa. And we spoke last time also in this context about the fact that the position, the opinion of the Chachamim, which Rabbi Eliezer seems to relent upon and agree to, is in fact that after the first meal, ibai achil, ibai lo achil. If you want, you can eat. And if you don't want to eat, you don't have to eat after the first meal. We're trying to understand, what does that mean? Don't have to eat at all, or don't have to eat in the Sukka. So in the end, we conclude, this means you don't have to eat in the Sukka. Doesn't mean you don't have to eat any meals whatsoever on Yom Tov. However, that is the end point. The discussion of Tosafot here, Dibur Amatchu Ibai Achil v'Ibai Lo Achil, took us to the Gemara and Tosafot on Brachot Memtet Amud Bet. We spoke there about the fact that the Gemara is very clear that there is an obligation on Shabbat and on days of Yom Tov, as opposed to days of Chol HaMoed, or Chol, obviously, that there is an obligation Shabbat and Yom Tov to eat a meal. The question is, what constituted that meal, and what did it mean? And related to that was also the notion that when it comes to Seudah Shlishit, and that's where we got onto this side. It's not really a side topic. It's germane to this page, really, because of the fact that we're talking about obligatory meals and how many obligatory meals are there on Shabbat, on Yom Tov. We said that on Yom Tov it's 2, on Shabbat it's 3. And last time we saw this packet where we not only looked up Tosafot on Memtet Amud Bet, we also saw the Rabbeinu Yonah quoting from various Chachmei Tzarfat there in the in Masachet Brachot and the Dapei Harif Daf Lamed Vav Amud Bet, if I recall correctly. We saw the Shulchan Aruch, a little bit in the Mishnah Berurah, and Shmirat Shabbat Kehilchata to get to the end point. And the end point is, it's an obligation to eat 3 meals on Shabbat, and for all 3 of them, one needs to wash and bench. However, if one is unable to wash and bench for the 3rd meal, so you can get away with, and then there was this whole list of different things. First, we had you should eat something mezonot. You can't do mezonot, so you could have meat or fish. Then we had fruit, and then we had a yesh omrim. You're too stuffed, you can't, so you don't have to make yourself crazy, because the whole point is for oneg Shabbat and not for tsa'ar on Shabbat. You should enjoy it and not be suffering. In that context, we also had the idea that chacham and barosho. So think ahead. If your Shabbos meal is going to go till 4:30 and mincha is at 4:35, so it's unlikely that you're going to be able to eat Seudah Shlishit. Okay, so you do plan it out better, have a shorter meal, finish eating earlier, whatever it is. Sometimes it's unavoidable, and that's a reality as well. What I want to focus on tonight, though, again, it's germane, because this is not something that we talked about last time, but it's also headquartered basically on our page and one other page that we're going to have to look at, that some of us on this Zoom actually already saw. We just don't remember that we saw, yours truly included, unless we look it up and see it on the screen. So we're going to start with that. There's going to be a Tosafot there. It's the Gemara Masechet Yuma on Daf Ayin Tet Amud Bet 79b. In Yuma, in case you don't have a Masechet Yuma handy, it works out very nicely because I have it very handy right in front of you. So there it is, the beauty of technology. How did we ever live before this? I don't have to make photocopies. I don't have to staple anything. It's right here in front of you all the time. It's amazing. Okay, this computer thing, amazing. Zoom, which is not to say it's ideal. We will, God willing, be zochim to go back to have a shiur in person. We'll also put it on. I'll also put it on Zoom for people for whom it's too challenging to get out, winter, whatever. But okay, let's go. So what we're going to focus on is actually a Tosafot in our Gemara on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, the last Tosafot on the page, where we have this line, Minei Targima. What's Minei Targima? We're not sure. So we look in Rashi. Rashi teaches us what Minei Targima means. What's Minei Targima? La'achar shesilek biyado. Sorry, you should look at Dibur HaMatchil b'Minei Targima. If you look it up, you'll see here, La'achar shesilek, after you finish eating the meal. Remember, this is according to, I'm not on the screen now, I'm on the page, yeah? After you finish eating your meal, the night of Shmini Atzeret, you have to make up the meal that you missed. Rashi teaches us, what do? Bring various types of dessert foods to the table. And he gives you several examples. Look at the examples, because this is going to be part of where the idea came from for Seudah Shlishit, and part of the argument that, or the machloket of Tosafot against Rashi. Here's how it will go. Okay? It goes as follows. Rashi describes the following idea. On this listing are included fruit, different kinds of cake, and this kaplutot mevushalot is actually, believe it or not, some kind of cooked leeks. Why? I don't know. This was their delicacy. Don't ask Fragnish, but that's the reality, okay? So here we have the three types of foods. Notice only one of them is cake made from chamishet minei dagan, but the other two are vegetables and fruits. And it says specifically that according to Rabbi Eliezer, you can fulfill the obligation of eating the meal you missed by eating Minei Targima. And on his list, he has not only cake, but also fruit. And this other cooked thing, which is made primarily of leeks, probably had some dough in it. I don't really know how it's a dessert food, but there's a lot of things I don't understand about the world. So we'll throw that into it as well. Now you will recall that when we learned Tosafot, Iboy Achli by Lo Achil, we were talking about the idea that according to some, you really could dispense with bread for this third meal of Shabbat, and maybe for other Yom Tov meals, you could have other things. Maybe you would be able to have meat, fish, other kinds of things as your main meal. Remember, we don't pass like that, l'alacha, but we saw that among the Rishonim there was still being a discussion about this matter. Now back to Seudah Shlishit. In order to understand what's going on in the last Tosafot here, Minei Targima, I already told you Tosafot's question, which is, excuse me, Rashi, how did you decide to slip in fruit? Because if the reality of you missed the meal on Yom Tov, you got to make it up, is you got to eat another meal to make up the meal, then you can only eat foods that are actually meal foods. But fruit is not a meal food by anyone's standard. So how did you include it? And what makes the plot a little bit thicker, if you will, look with me at this Gemara Masechet Yuma, which some of us on this call, again, we learned it together, which is pretty remarkable to come back to. Oh, yeah, we learned this? But we did learn this. This is a discussion about what is in the 8th parak. Remember, that's the practical one for year over year, even without a Beit HaMikdash yet built, about the observance of Yom Kippurim. And there's a statement that if a person eats a kakotevet hagasa, a large date, they've violated the halachot of Yom Kippur in terms of Inui HaNefesh. So the Gemara starts debating, okay, wait, how big is that? Well, it's definitely bigger than a kazayit. Is it bigger than a kibetza or smaller than a kibetza? In the course of that discussion, trying to figure it out, it gets itself into a discussion in which it borrows some themes from our sugya. And that comes up here, where Rava says, Hatam hainu tama, over there, the reason is mishum dahavu le peri uperi lo bai sukkah. What's that referencing? It's in our Gemara, and Daf Chaf Vav Amud Bet, there was a story. 26b had a story, more than one story, but the story of Rabban Gamliel, who had shnei kotavot, 2 large dates, and he went up. Did I say figs before? I meant to say dates. 2 large dates, and he went to the sukkah with that in a pail of water. So Rava says, well, why did he go up then? What was the point? Why did he do that? Oh, that's because it was fruit. Upiri lo bai sukkah. Fruit doesn't require a sukkah. Why not? Because he can't be koveya asuda on fruit. So the Gemara here says, well, wait a minute. Amar Rebbe, when we were studying Torah next to Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua, one of the students of Rabbi Akiva from the second Gilgul, yeah? So Rebbe was a Talmud of the Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. So when we were sitting there learning, they brought different things, figs, grapes, and we ate them as an achilat arai chutz la-sukkah. Achilat arai in, yeah, because it was not a fixed meal. But had these fruits been a fixed meal, achilat kava, lo. No. Ema, rather, what did Rebbe mean when he explained what happened when he was with his Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua? Achalnum ke'achilat arai chutz la-sukkah. We ate them in the manner that is as if it was an achilat arai. But had it been kava, it wouldn't matter because there's no such thing, really, as an achilat kava of fruit that requires you to run up to the sukkah per se. So the Gemara then says, if you want, achalnu achilat kava, achalnu pat achilat arai. When it said achilat arai, it really meant to say we ate these fruits in the manner of a meal. And we also ate bread, but the bread we ate, that was like just a few crackers. It wasn't really eating a meal, right? Bahadayu. Sorry. So we ate it. We ate the on the side. We had these other things on their own, right? So wait a second. Chutz la sukkah. We ate them and we ate them outside of the sukkah. Sorry, but I botched that. We ate the fruit, the bread, in a manner that was a happenstance, not fixed manner, outside of the sukkah. That's what really Rebbe wanted to teach people about his experience when he sat with his Rebbe, Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua, Talmud Rabbi Akiva, in order to sit and to enjoy fruits and a little bit of bread, but then go up to the sukkah for that. And that's why it was a chiddush. But the Gemara says, wait a minute. What about the Gemara? The Gemara in Yuma says, what about the Gemara Masechet Sukkah where it says, Lema Messiah Le? What about the fact that it says in Masechet Sukkah and Daf Chav Zayin, Lefichach, therefore, Im Hishlim, Minei Targima, Yatsa. Therefore, if he finished with Minei Targima, you're Yotze. Let's say that is Lema Messiah Le, that helps us. Why? V'Yisal Kadaitach Piri, Bo Sukkah, Litnei Perot. You know why it said Minei Targima? Says the Gemara Masechet Yuma? Because Minei Targima does not include fruit. If you thought that included fruit, then it should have just said, you should eat some fruit when you finish eating your meal. And that would be good enough. No, why did it use the word Minei Targima? The Gemara here seems to imply that the Minei Targima here refers specifically to foods with the 5 grains that could take the place of a meal, but fruit's not in the group. So the Gemara says, wait a minute, my Minei Targima. Okay, so what's Minei Targima really include? The Gemara says, no, must be that Minei Targima does include fruit. Or V'Bait Ema, Ba'achud L'Shchiche Peri, it was in a place where there's no fruit. They lived in a place with no fruit. Therefore, they said Minei Targima, but of course fruit's included. The bottom line here is, Rashi, on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, got his idea from this Gemara, that fruit must be somehow included. However, Rava had actually made the point that Peri Lobo Sukkah. That was Rava's point. So at least according to Rava, how could you eat fruit and call fruit something that is a meal replacement? It's not. If you don't require a sukkah, if you eat a lot of it, then it's not really a replacement for meals. and therefore it cannot be used and cannot be included as Minei Targima. The Gemara, however, does allow, even though it wanted to originally argue that if you finish with Minei Targima, so if you think that includes fruit, it should have said, eat fruit after you finish eating. The Gemara says, no, Minei Targima does include fruit. That's what Minei Targima means. When Rabbi Eliezer said, fill out your meal with Minei Targima, he meant to include fruit. Or he didn't include fruit, but not because he fundamentally thinks fruit is not okay, but because he lived in a place where there was not enough fruit. So look at Tosafot here on the page. I'm on 79b. Minei Targima Perak Hayashin Gabe Im Hishlim Yud Daled Seudot. This is quoting us. Hayashin is sleeping. Hayashin Tachana Sukka. That's when we're Tachana Mita, I mean. So Gabe Im Hishlim Yud Daled Seudot Shechayiv Adam Lechal B'Sukka B'Minei Targima Yatsa. That with regard to the sugya that we just learned, that if you eat for the 1 year, you have to be mashlim. Afterward, if you eat Minei Targima, you yotze. And what did Rashi say? Kegon Peirot Bekisnein Bekaplutot Mavushalim. We just read that. The Hacha Mashma to Minei Targima Lav Peirot Nenu. But actually, if you look at our Gemara really seems to imply that Minei Targima does not include fruit, actually. And we shall not learn from here, from our sugya here, 79b, that you could actually eat Minei Targima to fill out Seudah Shlishit of Shabbat. Why? Midamar hacha im hishlim b'minei Targima yatsa the shiny hatam delfina lumi the katav plata zimnin hayom. When it came to the to Seudah Shlishit in Parshat B'Shalach, in the pasuk that is marshaled to as the proof text for Seudah Shlishit, Moshe Rabbeinu uses the language of hayom 3 times in the same pasuk. And that's how we know it's 3 meals. That's not the same thing. That's Gabe the man with regard to the man. Today Hashem's not going to give you the man today. So therefore you have to eat the meals. She'ul b'makom pat. The whole point of Seudah Shlishit and all of 3 meals is that we're trying to eat pat, bread, dough. Va'afilu I hava amrina denafik b'gimel suda b'minei targima kemo Gabe Sukka. Even if you want to argue that you can be yotze, gimel su'udot means the 3rd meal, with Minei Targima, with some community, just like with regard to Sukkah, mikol makom beferi lo nafik, lo mahame hane nami besukkah. We see that fruit does not work with regard to Sukkah, to fill out to be an actual meal in the Sukkah. And we see, therefore, it's also not good in the world of Seudah Shlishit. Is everyone with me, or did I lose you 10 minutes ago? It's a silent shir so far. Everyone's being super polite.
Well, I just started, so I was silent.
There's always one in the group, Ed. There's always one in the group. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm happy you were able to join us. Judah, go ahead.
Thank you.
To clarify, Rabbi, when they say peirot, it has to say only peirot, because the other argument was that peirot in the Targima was included, and that's okay.
But the point is that the way the Gemara got into this discussion was that over here, I clipped it out, is that Rava wanted to comment on the story about Rabban Gamliel not going up to the Sukkah, even though he ate 2 kotavot, 2 dates, large dates. He didn't go up to the Sukkah. But Rava says, but that's because if you ate 1,000 dates, you still don't have to go to the Sukkah. You know why? Because he says, because it's fruit, and fruit never requires a Sukkah. But further along, the Gemara seems to be saying that look at Minei Targima. When you get to Minei Targima, the discussion about Minei Targima is a discussion about the point of the Minei Targima discourse is that in our Gemara, it describes that you can eat Minei Targima to fill out the meal that you neglected to eat originally. So if you're going to say that fruits need a sukkah, per se, why did the Braita say Targima? Should have said, bring fruit into the sukkah, it's good enough. The fact that it said Targima, it wanted to prove that's like the lowest level thing. And what's Targima? not fruit. So the Gemara says, no. You know what Targima includes? It includes fruit, really. The Braita really does say that fruit equals part of a proper meal. That's how Rashi came up with the idea. But alternatively, you could say, no, in that place there was no fruit, but it's not because fundamentally there's a problem with fruit.
But to come back to Judah's point,
Yeah.
according to Rava and what you just said, if you ate only fruit, even large quantities, that would not suffice. And peyrot are only included in Minei Targima when they are eaten with other types of food.
And
So-
that's okay, yeah.
Okay, wait. No, peyrot are not. The point here is peyrot are not necessarily included only when they have other food. They could be a standalone. The point here was, and this is part of the issue, you know and I know, because we learned this Gemara just now, is that Lefiach im Hishlim b'minei Targima Yatza, when is that taking place? On Sukkot? On Shmini Atzeret. There's no Sukka anymore. So the fact that Rava said that Peri lo bai Sukka, fine, it's not Sukkos now. It's Shmini Atzeret. And why are you eating Minei Targima? Because you're full, because you just a minute ago finished benching from your meal from Shmini Atzeret. You can't ask a person how to wash and have another meal. Therefore, we say, okay, Minei Targima. We're stuck. That's what we got to Minei Targima. By the way, now you understand. That's how we get to the idea that, as I told you, we learned this before, that the Shulchan Aruch says, Sudash Lishit, you should eat bread. You can't eat bread, so eat Minei Targima. What's Minei Targima? Minei Targima could be 5 things from the 5 grains. You can't eat something from the 5 grains, so it could be fish, could be meat. We'll see that. We saw that already. We're going to see that again right now on our page. But what's the third option?
I thought we said last week, I'm confused. I thought we said the Mechaber says that you could fulfill Shalosh Shudas if you ate some fruit.
But the B'diavad, if you're stuck. If you're stuck.
Uh-huh.
Why are you stuck?
What I don't
It's not a given. It's not a given at all.
What I don't understand is someone's a vegetarian and they regularly during the year make meals just out of fruit. Some of my best friends have been in very fancy restaurants and they've ordered the fruit plate.
Yeah. Okay, but now you're getting into another topic. I don't want to go down that line today, which is the question of, can we actually switch out eating meat at these meals? Can we just have fish? Can we have dairy with no fish and no meat? Is it a subjective standard, an objective standard? With respect, that'll take us more than the whole time. We don't have that kind of time today. Okay. You just can't indulge it. But if you look here, here's to Ira's point here. We have Yehei Zar Mel the Kaim Sudash sheet. Makayim it doesn't say what it is. It just says, if you can't eat it all, so you're not chayv to mitzar yourself. But when you skip down to the next page, hold on, right here, halacha hey, you have to use bread. Some say you can make it on any food that's made from one of the 5 Minei Dagan. Some say you can make it in something that is used, that we dip bread into it, such as meat or fish, but not fruit. And some say that even fruit would be good enough. But the Svara Rishona is the Iker. That's the main one, that you really need to use bread, unless you're too full. Yeah? Everyone sees that?
Yeah.
And that's L'Alach L'Maisa. But what we just did now, this is you used to call it Cliff's Notes. Today will be Sparks Notes of the halachas. You can do this. Why there's so many options all over the map? We're at the headquarters discussion about why and how it became such a fruit salad of different things that you can do. This is why, because this is the discussion. Look with me now, the remaining time, at Tosafot on our page to see another view of the same thing. We're going to see from another perspective on our page, at page 27a. When we look up 27a, we find Tosafot, Dibur Matchil, on this page of Minei Targima. And here we have the quote from Rashi. Pirish bekuntris kegon pirid bekisnin, that's baked goods. Bekaplutot mevushalin, again, some kind of leeks. And Tosafot would say, V'yavshar lo markain, it's impossible to argue that this is correct. Why? Deharava masik perak chet yuma de piri lo ba'isuka. V'dayik mihacha, Rava learned that therefore you don't have to eat fruit in a sukkah. But the Gemara had sought to prove from a Braita here, prove Rava's point from a Braita here, that if you use Minei Targima, you're Yotze. But the Gemara said, wait a minute, over there, V'isal kadaitach peirot ba'isuka, if you maintain that you need to eat fruit only in a sukkah, so then, and it means you could be makayim the mitzvah of sukkah eating fruit, so lishlim bepeirot should have said about fruit. Why davka do you need Minei Targima? It must be, say the Bali Tosafot, at least in process, that the peirot are not chayav in sukkah, therefore you cannot use them to mashlim your 14 meals, at least according to Rabbi Eliezer. Because
here's what I'm confused. Wait, I'm confused on one thing. But by fruit, if you go into the sukkah by fruit, you don't make a leishay basukah.
That's exactly right. But there were those who wanted to argue maybe you should. By the way, the Rif, he was outgunned, outmanned, it didn't happen. The Rif wanted to argue that maybe you could make a leishay basukah on fruit based on this discussion. Even though Rava said you not chayav to go in a sukkah with fruit no matter how much you eat, we saw that further along, Minei Targima could include fruit. We see that according to Rashi, fruit could be included. So according to that line, if you follow to its natural progression, maybe you should say leishay basukah on fruit. We don't paskin that way. But I'm back over here in Tosafot. Tosafot says you could have made this argument if you want to say that peirot require a sukkah. So why don't you fulfill your outstanding meal using fruit, but instead use the language of Minei Targima? So of course, what did the Gemara? The Tosafot quote the Gemara there. Vidachi, the Gemara disproved or rejected its own proof because it said that the fruits do require. I'll tell you that fruits really you can eat in a meal in a sukkah, and you could use fruit. Why didn't the Braita say the word fruit? It said Minei Targima. And one of the answers was be'atra delo shcheiche peirot. We just saw that Gemara a moment ago on the screen. There's no fruit in that place. That's why I used the language of Targima. It was the reality of where he was. And of course, the Gemara gives another option, and which is v'ibait ema Minei Targima nami Minei Peri ninu. You could also argue that Minei Targima includes Minei Peri, includes fruit. But watch how the Tosafot are going to do now, because now, according to what we're up to, sounds like the Bali Tosafot conceded to Rashi. They started off by criticizing Rashi. You cannot include fruit, but now they just sort of proved that it does include fruit. So watch what happens next. Mikol makom, nonetheless. Mashmat iperi lo bai sukkah ein hashlomim mu'elet bepeirot. It sounds like that if peirot would not require a sukkah, then one could not be mashlim the last meal, meaning the meal that they missed on the night of Shmini Atzeret using peirot. That would not be possible, right? Meaning, this whole answer the Gemara gave that really was really based on the argument of Rava claiming that peirot don't require a sukkah. According to him, you have to say that maybe what's going on is that you might have also been allowed to use fruit. Rava disagreed, but Rabbi Eliezer was saying you could use fruit. He really did hold that way as the fill-in, meaning as the makeup. Initially, you can't. When Rava said you can't eat in a sukkah with fruit, you can't eat fruit and claim that that's chayiv in sukkah, that was on Sukkot. What was Rabbi Eliezer talking about? The makeup meal. Maybe there, it is a little more expansive, right? So maybe we could say it that way. But Tosafot say Minei Targima havu kegon. I skipped a step. It could be that when the Braita says im hishlim b'minei Targima in the Braita, our Braita, Eliezer used that. That's davka Minei Targima, and for the makeup meal, perhaps it specified that to say that fruit is not Minei Targima, but only mizonot would work. Therefore, the Bali Tosafot would say, what's Minei Targima havu? Kegon basar v'dagim shar dvarim shemalaftin bahen at a pot. Anything that you'd wipe the bread into, the fish, the meat, the fish, those are what you're obligated to eat in the sukkah. that will work as a hashlama. Ve'ein lilmod mikan she'ulu minei targima lahashlim shalosh sudot shel Shabbat. But don't learn that the Minei Targima will work to fill out, to complete the Shalosh Seudot, means the third meal of Shabbat. I just had this conversation with someone yesterday, so I'll just mention this parenthetically, but it's germane. You know, everyone else calls it Seudah Shlishit, the third meal. You see that the Rishonim always called it Shalosh Seudot, which you would say grammatically is incorrect, because Shalosh Seudot means 3 meals, but it's really the third meal. Seudah Rishonah, Seudah Shmiyah, Seudah Shlishit, right? But you know why they call it Shalosh Seudot? So there's actually a fair amount of writing about this, and you see it in a halachic context as well. It's called Shalosh Seudot because in a certain way it encapsulates, in a spiritual sense, the other two. It's cumulative. It's the zenith of Shabbat. The Mekubalim would use the expression based on the Zohar HaKadosh, Raiva de Raivin, the time of the desire of desire. It's like the highest point. That's why at the end of Shabbat, at Mincha, it's Ata Echad V'Shimcha Echad, and we're talking about Avram, Yagel, Yitzchak, Yeranen, Yaakov, Uvanav, talking about Yemot HaMashiach. Because it's rising up, it's moving, and that you see that right here. They keep calling it Shalosh Seudot. That's what some of us still call, and our Bubbies and Zadis called Shalosh Seudas. That's why they call it. That's why actually we've shown him that way.
Maybe that's why the importance of us doing in Shul Ne'ilas HaChag for that same reason.
That's also important. Absolutely, we'll be back there, Mitzvah Shem. But listen, look what he's saying here. Don't think that you can use Minei Targima for Shalosh Seudot. You know why Minei Targima were being used? That was a special fill-in meal because the guy was stuck. Because he didn't eat the right number of meals on Yontif. So according to Rabbi Eliezer. So they had to eat after. And it's right after his Yontif meal. So he has to eat something else. He can't have another meal. But don't use that for Seudah Shlishit. You could use Minei Targima. According to Tosafot, we see it right here. What's Minei Targima? Meat and fish. He doesn't think it's fruit. Don't think that it's really fruit. Right? The whole point is, if fruit really wouldn't work into Sukkah, so really fruit wouldn't be the hashlama that you could do for this last meal. And there were 2 cop-out answers. One was, well, it's a place where there's no fruit, or maybe it really somehow does include it. It's 2 Ibayit Emas, but they're rejected by Tosafot. Basically, Tosafot is concluding, no, you have to eat something more substantive. And ve'ein le'omod mikan she'il min Targima lahashlim shlosh seudot shel Shabbat. Even though the meat and the fish would be workable for that fill-in meal, because the shiny hatam. Why? The Alfina, we learn in Masechet Shabbat on page 117 that it says 3 times the word hayom with regard to the man. Right? It's the pasuk from Sefer Shmot, Perek Tet Zayin. Moshe says, "Eat it today." Ichlu hayom ki Shabbat hayom laHashem. Hayom u'tantzau b'pasadeh. All in the same pasuk. That's what you have. You have to eat 3 meals on Shabbat. From here, we get the idea, hayom, 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 3 times. So that teaches us Seudah, Shalosh Seudot, eating 3 meals. And this pasuk that was spoken about with regard to the man equals pot. It's a form of bread, dough, etc. And therefore, one cannot be mashlim with Minei Targima unless they eat dough. What's dough? Bread. If you're stuck, chamishet minei hadogan. With regard to Sukkah, why did it say Minei Targima? Tosafot say, Afilu banu lahashvotam. Even if we wanted to connect the 2 of them, the 14 meals in Rabbi Eliezer's iteration of Sukkot and Seudah Shlishit on Shabbat, and to say that you can fill out your meal, you missed one on Sukkot, you want to fill it out on Shmini Atzeret, you can use Minei Targima. You want to say that you could also maybe draw it out to Seudah Shlishit? No way. Nonetheless, what are they saying here? Lo nafik. You would not be yotze with peirot. Because peirot really don't work for Sukkah. We follow Rava, according to the Bali Tosafot, who said peirot lo bai Sukkah, and therefore you cannot be mashing the 14 meals with fruit. And so too, with regard to Seudah Shlishit, you cannot fulfill it at all with fruit. Obviously, not everyone agreed. What did the Mechaber do?